The Russia investigation taking a new turn and getting closer to the president's inner circle. According to the New York Times, Robert Mueller's investigators questioned the White House communications director, Hope Hicks. The report saying that Hicks received emails from Russian operatives during the presidential transition. These new revelations come just days after FBI Director Christopher Wray defended his agency to House Republicans.
There is no finer institution than the FBI, and no finer people than the men and women who work there and are its very beating heart. Almost 37,000 men and women with a fierce commitment to protecting the American people and upholding the rule of law. Men and women who face the darkest that life has to offer with unyielding integrity and honesty and dedication.
I'm joined now by former federal prosecutor Stephen Mulroy, who is now a University of Memphis law professor and a criminal defense attorney. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Should the American people be concerned that political bias has infected the FBI?
I don't think so, Arcel. I understand that one particular agent, Mr. Strzok, had some texts that were pro-Hillary Clinton and anti-Trump, and he was quickly suspended from the investigation, and there's an ongoing Department of Justice Inspector General investigation into that. But by and large, though, I think the FBI's reputation as a professional, apolitical organization is well-deserved and should continue. The FBI director, of course, has a 10-year term. He's supposed to be independent. The current and prior FBI director are, in fact, Republicans. I think that this one particular incident probably shouldn't be enough to tarnish the image of the agency as a whole.
So as you just pointed out, Peter Strzok was taken off the team, the Mueller investigative team, and he was reassigned to the Human Resources Department. So is there any valid reason to question the integrity of the Federal Bureau of Investigation?
I think in questioning the integrity of the entire organization as a whole is an overreaction. I mean, based on what I know about the FBI and, my time as a federal prosecutor, the FBI has always been an apolitical organization. In fact, many of the people in the FBI probably, in their personal views, may lean conservative. But I think the idea is that FBI agents, like all other human beings, may have their private political beliefs, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't conduct their investigations in a professional and unbiased manner. Now, those particular texts from that one person, Mr. Peter Strzok, were unfortunate, but as I noted, Mr. Mueller's response was to suspend him from the investigation, and now the Inspector General is investigating all of that. I think that's probably enough.
I want to show a tweet from President Trump that he tweeted last night. Pop that on the screen for me. It says, "So General Flynn lies to the FBI and his life is destroyed, while crooked Hillary Clinton on that now famous FBI holiday interrogation with no swearing in and no recording lies many times and nothing happens to her." This is, of course, referring to Michael Flynn's guilty plea last week, and the president adding, rigged system or just a double standard. So I want to ask you, Professor Mr. Mulroy, what's your assessment of this distrust and tension between the Trump White House and the FBI being aired out so publicly and through such outlets like Twitter?
Right. Well, Mr. Trump's frustration with the ongoing investigation is understandable, and I can understand why he may, feel that way. But I think the FBI would say that there is a legitimate distinction between what happened with Mr. Flynn, who was pretty much caught dead to rights making affirmative misrepresentations under oath about his contacts with Russian officials, and the Clinton investigation, where at least the FBI came to the conclusion that there was no intent, and there was an intent to disseminate classified information that was required under the relevant statute at issue. I understand why he may be frustrated at the difference in outcome, but to your question, Arcel, I guess it is extraordinary for a president to be making such public statements undermining confidence in the integrity of the FBI. It's not something that we've seen, at least recently, in my memory, and it is an extraordinary development.
I want to circle back to White House Communications Director Hope Hicks. anything to glean from Ms. Hicks being questioned by special counsel Mueller's team or the subject matter at hand?
Well, I would say this, Arcel, that the mere fact that Hope Hicks was contacted by some Russian operatives during the transition period is not in and of itself an illegal act. It doesn't necessarily mean that Hope Hicks herself did anything illegal. I think the broader significance is just that, as I think you indicated earlier in your introduction to this piece, that it brings the investigation closer in to the inner circle of the White House. It brings the investigation one person closer to the president himself. And I think that just sort of builds on the general narrative that maybe there were a lot of contacts between Russian operatives and the Clinton campaign, the Trump campaign and the Trump White House.
Well, the investigations continue, so no conclusions as of yet, but we will continue to watch. Stephen Mulroy, thank you very much for your time and analysis this evening.